Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Command Center, where we like to put our favorite commander, maybe even yours, front and center. And you know we can't do that unless we play those three deceptive letters, EDH. What does this stand for today, Derek?
It's been way too long, and today, EDH stands for Effectively Deceitful Honesty.
Ooh, why are we deceiving people with honesty? Or why is our honesty deceptive? What are we talking about today?
Because we're playing Commander. What else do you do in Commander other than deceive people? That's like 95% of the game.
That is true.
It's what we're here for. We're here to make deals and break deals.
Yeah, so we're here talking about Law 12, using selective honesty and generosity. So, as a Magic player, as an EDH player, maybe there is going to be some instances, some cases where you're going to tell the truth, half the truth, and nothing sort of the truth.
Nothing approaching the truth.
Nothing approaching the truth. So we're going to talk about some instances where you can use this to try to gain the upper hand within the game, and also, not seem too much like a bad person, a scumbag or whatnot. But you got to use that selective honesty to get ahead within the Magic game.
See, it is really funny because I feel like these type of skills, people who play games like Werewolf or Secret Hitler or like board games like that, I feel like are amazing at this if they come into Magic. Whereas people who are just, I guess, normal people that don't play these psychotic games with their friends probably are looking at us like, what are you talking about? Why would you ever do this to your friends? So this really does remind me of a lot of other board games and games like that I play.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about how to use selective honesty and generosity within the game to, like I said, advance your gameplay and also stay above your opponents within the game. Because at the end of the day, this is a game. But we can't do that until we look at some flavor text. So what is the flavor text that we have today, Derek?
So it is a card called Daring Thief, and you already know that he's going to be deceitful. Daring Thief is a very kind of straightforward name. And the flavor text that is so amazing for this is, honesty is the first casualty of war. And if Commander is anything, it is 4 players going to war with each other. And for some play groups, there's just no restrictions on what you do to win.
Yeah, that is true. So honesty goes out the window once we get into the game of war. So it's not just you. Don't feel bad about this. You're not the only one going to be using selective honesty. All 3 of your opponents are going to be doing it as well. So let's talk about how we can spot these things and also how we can use them. So we're going to break down just the general principle of this law. And basically what it's saying is that one sincere and honest move can cover up a dozen dishonest ones. And basically, once you use selective honesty to open up a hole within the armor of your opponents, you can basically deceive and manipulate them throughout the rest of the game. So I don't know if this is necessarily true, but we're going to see if we can use some of these principles to see where they fit within the game of Commander. What do you think, Derek?
Yeah, I definitely think there's some truth to it because it's one of those things almost like subconsciously when you're playing, and if someone maybe does like a group huggy type thing. So Pier's Whim is one of my favorite cards, and you get to choose friend or foe. And I think choosing a friend for somebody early game, that like honesty and camaraderie, you can definitely take advantage of that late game. And even if you're not making deals, just to kind of give some goodwill that even though you destroy some of their stuff later, they might still remember it.
That's true. And so I actually wanted to talk about friend or foe real quick because we can just talk about the whole cycle of those as we jump into our first principle. An act of apparent sincerity or honesty, and this is also, we're going to classify as selective honesty. But using apparent sincerity and honesty can kind of throw your opponent off their game a little bit to say, you know what, maybe I can trust this guy, maybe he's an ally. And this is actually similar to some stuff we talked about in the past, but I definitely want to hone in on the friend or foe cards. So as you said, Pier's Whim is one of those ways where you can take advantage of, I am actually pointing out, using the card, using the in-game mechanic, who is my friend and who is my foe. And so you can be generous when you don't even have to be to a certain player.
I love the mechanics so much because so much of kind of just setting up this whole friend or foe thing naturally within a game is tough because typically you're only playing with friends. a lot of the
Right.
time. And even when you meet strangers, a lot of time it's a very friendly atmosphere. So to get like the politics and the stuff of the game going, it's sometimes hard to do so because a lot of people are just friendly people. They don't want to kind of start that wheeling and dealing. And cards like Friend or Foe get it started right away. No matter how not into the politics of EDH someone is, if they get called a foe, they're going to start politicking. It's just like a natural reaction.
Yeah, yeah. And just to clarify, we're talking about the Friend or Foe cards. We're talking about Pierce Whim. We're talking about Korvath's Fury. We're talking about Regnus Sanction, Virtue's Maneuver, and Zindersplit's Judgment. I don't want to say that name again.
Zindersplit. Yeah, I think that sounds right to me.
Zibble Split. I don't know. Whatever.
It's a bunch of, it's no vowels. Too many consonants.
Yeah, but I will say, just because we went through that cycle, I'm gonna kind of break this spoiler a little bit early. Battle Bond is going to be pretty much our go-to when we're talking about this mechanic or this principle right here. So we're going to bring up some more Battle Bond. We're going to bring up some more Battle Bond cards a little bit later as we move through the principles and some of our commander spotlights. So at the end of the day, being sincere or appearing to be sincere and deceptive in your honesty, it can throw some people, like I said, off their game. It can open them up and be more receptive to leaving you alone and kind of letting you do your thing throughout the game. So that's our first principle.
And I think something really interesting about this is, besides just being deceitfully honest, like I think just being honest with people sometimes might take them off guard too. So if you just genuinely help a player early game, or genuinely like try to do something nice for a player early game, like, you know what, I'm not going to blow this up. I don't want to slow you down that much. You can still get the benefit. There's a lot of times we're just not being cutthroat. You can still have that benefit without trying to be deceitful, and it's really the same principle. It's just a matter of kind of the perspective you're coming from.
Yeah, and at the same time, if you're actually open and honest about it, you're actually letting them know that, hey, I have a card in my hand that can get rid of this type of permanent on the board. Yeah. But I'm going to be nice and I'm going to let you keep it. Whenever I hear that, that lets me know that, oh crap, I better not play a better, this permanent type on the board. Or, if it's too threatening, they have the means to get rid of it.
Exactly.
So you got to listen. We talked about that before in the past as well, but you're also understanding how your opponents are doing the threat assessment and seeing when they're being honest and also generous. And that actually leads us into our second principle, which is give a gift and also learn to give before you take. So there are times where within a game, you can, like we just mentioned, be generous to an opponent and let them keep something on their board. Or you can just, physically give them a card, using certain in-game mechanics as well. Just saying, you know what, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give this to you, or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to destroy that. I'm going to let you keep this position because I'm interested in seeing where it goes. And basically, this is giving you a way in. This is, in a sense, a Trojan horse.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, especially playing at LGSs and things like that, I think that's one of the hardest things for players to do is give before they get. Because a lot of times in game, you're not thinking about helping other players out, and then you get to a really dire situation late game, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, like I can't save myself, someone help me. And if you haven't done anything for other players before that, people aren't, like, it's a game people are trying to win. They're not going to have any incentive to go out of their way and use their resources to save you unless you give them a reason to.
That's right, because if you have those players early game who's trying to blow everyone else out the water, start disrupting plays, blowing up lands, blowing up soul rings, you've just made an enemy for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And what is your motto? What is your motto, Derek?
Oh, play petty, don't be petty. And in my case, also be petty because that's how I am. But definitely play petty. Definitely play petty. I will remember, if you blow up my soul ring unnecessarily, I will remember that for that game, probably the next game, maybe 10 years from now. That soul ring will always be in my mind.
Because you just become known as the soul ring killer. And so I have no reason to trust you in any other game, any future game. Why should I put my stock in you?
You can't trust that.
And once again, that leads us into our next principle. You must build a reputation of honesty based on a series of acts. I mean, come on. If you're known for being the player who devastates other players out of the gate, and you're just known for being dishonest at the table, I have no reason to trust you in future games. Whenever you say you may need some help, I may just be giving you too much help, and I have no incentive to, try to ally myself with you when it comes to another player, because I have a feeling you're gonna backstab me, and you haven't proven yourself to be the type of player that I need to rely on in certain situations.
Yeah, one thing I noticed with this a lot is style of decks too, where certain players, when they say they have like a jank deck, or they say they have a casual deck, or they say this is my fun deck.
Yeah.
It's the same reputation where there's certain people that say that, kill you in 4 turns, and be like, oh, I didn't know that can happen. And then there's other people who are going to pull out a GOAT tribal deck and that has 2 win cons maybe in the whole deck. So that kind of that reputation of honesty can follow you all throughout the game. Because again, with Magic, a lot of things are super subjective. It's like deck power level, or sometimes your word becomes subjective depending on how good it is. So I think this is something just throughout Magic, that trying to be as honest as possible is super important, because you want to deceive people, but not in ways that's flat out lying, because it's just, you're not going to make friends like that.
Yeah, and especially in our current state of gameplay where we're doing Web Commander. And I think there was an event where people were trying out, power levels, ranking their power levels, and joining group games like that. And people will come in with like, yeah, I'm playing a level 5, and then come in and blowing everyone out like they were playing a level 9 deck. And everyone was like, what was that? Like, it makes people wonder. It's like, were you being dishonest, or do you just not know how to judge power level?
That's happened to me too many times. My most vivid memory of that is someone sat down with the Yisan deck against me one time. I was like, oh, it's pretty chill. And it had like 40 elves out on turn 4 and just stopped the table before we had like cast even one spell. And I was just like, there's no way you didn't know. Like, do not, like, unless the whole playgroup is just like Urza stacks and that's the most casual deck they've seen, usually people have some sort of just indication that their deck's a little stronger than they're saying.
Yeah, like if you've test played that out, you know that there's an elf snowball going on. Or Yisan is already known for being one of those commanders you got to watch out for. So they should have come in with the right communication and saying that this isn't that kind of Yisan deck. Or
to be fair, I don't think Yisan Elf Ball is the most common way to build it. So it was a different build. I'll give them that. But at the same time, like, you got to know when your deck goes off on turn 4 that it can do that.
Okay. I'll let you give them the benefit of the doubt.
Just a little bit.
So yeah, you have to build that reputation of honesty to be able to take advantage of this. You can't be, dishonest out of the gate. However, if you are known for being dishonest, maybe you can use this to your advantage. We're going to attempt to attack this one. This is one of the actual principles that basically says that if you are known for being a liar or being deceptive, don't try to lie about it. Don't try to hide it. If you're known for being deceitful, own up to it and don't try to cover it up. And that means that people can actually trust you. It sounds weird. I know.
See, this does work in practice in the most ridiculous way. Nobody's going to understand my reference, I'm assuming. But if anyone is a fan of the Dan Le Batard Show, a radio show based out of Miami, Stugatz is one of the co-hosts. And this is literally him. He is just known and very blatant about just being a huge liar, about always being dishonest. And he is beloved as the clown, as the funny guy, because he is so blatantly honest about his dishonesty. And it sounds ridiculous in practice, but at least with Stugatz it works. Maybe you could be the Stugatz of your play group and people start finding it funny. I don't know. I don't want to take that chance, but if you do, more power to you.
I can think of certain situations. If you are the type of player who holds up a lot of mana, or maybe not the type of player, but if you're the blue player and I see you keep a lot of mana up, hey, do you have a counter spell? And I will just, just don't lie. Just say, yeah, I got a counter spell. I keep 10 counter spells in the deck. I'll come across these kind of players. And it's not necessarily that I would think that they would be lying about it. I'm not going to take a chance. Or I'm going to try to call their bluff. And sure, lo and behold, they got the counter spell. But, sometimes every now and then they may not. But they I don't know. Maybe I'm just equating the blue player to being the deceptive player.
Yeah, it's within the color pie of blue. Of all the colors, if you had to pick one for being deceiving, like blue is just that is what blue is. They're just trying to catch people off guard and trick people. Don't play blue.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, if you're known for being deceitful, deceptive, just own up to it. And if it doesn't interrupt people's play experience, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Let us know down in the comments. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure these people aren't terrible to be around or play against.
I do feel like too, especially within the context of Commander, like being that character almost in your play group, letting it be known and being honest about it can be beneficial, because then people won't think that's you as a person. And I think that's a big thing, is like a lot of people are different as Commander players than they are as people. And if you're like little spot in your Commander group is the guy who's always making crazy deals and being super deceitful, if your friends know that's not who you are, that might be fun to play against within a pod. And I think that could be a big, being honest about it makes that possible. If you're not honest and you're super deceitful, people might kind of see that in you as a person. Whereas when you're honest, they can see, oh, this is just how he plays a game.
Right. Gotcha. All right. So we thrown a few cards at you throughout some of this discussion. So let's do an actual Commander spotlight to see if there are any commanders that actually kind of fit this profile that help us. Maybe we can build a deck around that fits this motif of being deceitful and using selective honesty. And I'm going to start us off. We always talk about group hug. It seems to fit in a lot of these strategies that we're talking about.
Which just proves that group hug players are secretly psychopaths. That's all this is doing. That's all we're proving. That's the whole point of these videos.
So how about we go to one of our most commonly known group huggish type of commanders, K&T of Miletus. As you know me by now, I can't pronounce their name.
Just K&T.
But this is the
K&T.
Yeah, K&T. This is the 4-color commander with the two guys on the front. Red, green, white, and blue. At the beginning of your end step, you draw a card, and each player may put a land from their hand onto the battlefield. And each player who did it draws a card. So it's basically one of those slow group huggy type of deals where it's like, you can either draw a card or you put a land down. It's your choice, dealer's choice. And this is probably one of those commanders that will help keep you honest and also let you be a little generous in how you delve out surprises and tokens and everything.
Yeah, of the group hug type commanders, K&T, they're the one that I'm most likely to fall for, because I love playing mono red decks. I have a lot of monocolored decks in general, so card draw is really tough to get in a lot of colors. So when you're telling me I can ramp and draw cards, I am all for it. I am going to make sure you stay alive, because I can't do it myself. If I'm playing Krenko and you can tell me I can play extra mountains and draw cards, I will never attack you. So this is one of the better ones, because it's also harder to see how the deck is going to kill you. It's not, the card literally just says help everyone. There's not a way to murder everyone on the card.
Yeah, that's true. And that helps with the selective honesty, but definitely with the generosity. And I don't see a lot of people go after the K&T itself. Maybe the player, but not the K&T.
No. Yeah. No, it seems like one of the most perfect for this deceitfully honest or deceivingly honest group hug commanders. Because you're 100% right. Never is someone like that K&T has to go. I'm wasting all my removal on your K&T. Like that just doesn't really happen.
Yeah. So the next one I want to talk about, this one is going to be a little bit more obvious, but this is Grizzball the Dreadsower. 1 black and green. At the beginning of your end step, each player creates a 1/1 green plant token, and whenever a creature token dies, you put a 1/1 counter on Grizzball. So this one is a little bit more open, and it's pretty much just advertising what the strategy is here. I'm going to give you a gift, but I'm going to get something in return.
Yeah, and this is one where you have to play the politics more. You really have to try to be sneaky with what your win con is, because if you have something on board that's a pestilence or something, and you're just here's all these 1/1s that I could immediately kill and make my commander massive and kill you, yeah, it's not going to work out. It's not going to turn out well for you. Whereas if you can disguise it and make it seem as if you don't have a way to win on board, yeah, you got to work for this one. It's not the same as a K&T.
Yeah, people can see the strategy coming a mile away. They're just trying to figure out when it's going to pop off. So it's all about timing with Grizzball. The next one, I think this is a great example. I think this should be the new group hug staple. This should be the new face of group hug. Kenrith the Return King. Let's get that hippo out of here. Let's get Phil the Griff out of here. I want to see Kenrith the Return King in Phil the Griff spot. I know Phil the Griff has a warm, fuzzy spot in a lot of people's hearts, but the Return King. Come on. 4 in a white, and it has 5 abilities. All they can target any creature on the board. Not just yours, but your opponent's creatures as well. You can give them trample or haste. You can put 1/1 counters on them. You can have a player gain 5 life, have a player draw a card, or resurrect creatures from their graveyards. Take your pick. This is politics. This is group hug. This is everything that you need it to be all in one creature.
Just some advice for everyone out there. Don't fall for it. Kenrith is one of the most overpowered commanders you can possibly have because it's basically, I have played against the Kenrith deck quite a few times. It reminds me in a casual meta of like a casual Thrasios, except with way more options. Because the thing is, all of a sudden, as the game goes on and that player accrues more mana, they can do whatever they want. They never run out of things to do. And it's not just draw cards. They can reanimate and put +1 counters in. And the haste. Oh, the haste. The haste is terrifying because you never look for the haste. Never listen to a Kenrith player. They're going to make all types of promises. Attack them. Don't listen. Attack.
But he won't be generous and give you those gifts when you need them.
Yeah, I give you credit. If you can trick people, if you can play Kenrith and give them these gifts all throughout the game and get them not to attack you, you are a skillful player, and you have some talent that I don't have because, Kenrith is scary, but you're right. It gives so much flexibility to the idea of group hug that really no other commander does.
Just a few other cards, non-commander cards that we can talk about real quick. I've seen you use Duelist Heritage, a 2 and a white enchantment. Whenever one or more creatures attack, you can have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn.
So good. This card, I hate white. There are like 3 white cards that I will ever own up to enjoying because white in Magic is the worst thing in the world to me. But this card is one of them. It is ridiculous. This card is so overpowered for 3 mana. Play this card. You will feel amazing. You will allow other players to kill other players. No blood on your hands. Just play the card. It's so good.
Yeah. Also, we have Djinn of Infinite Deceits for blue. Tap it, exchange control of 2 non-legendary creatures. You just can't activate this during combat. So this, you can do switcheroo on the board. Let's say that there's another opponent that needs a certain creature or just needs something different going on their board. Say, hey, I got you. And you don't even have to exchange your own creatures. This could be 2 opponents' creatures that you switcheroo. And this will just, it creates friends, it creates enemies, it does it all in one swoop.
It's just so good. You're in blue, you can give people flyers if you want a certain player to survive. You can swap a problematic creature with another creature so the other player can block and kill it. So many good things. And you can make friends, lose friends, but it's a lot of flexibility on one card. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
Cool. And I wanted to give Battle Bond its own spot within this conversation because Battle Bond was a teammate kind of thing going on with Magic the Gathering, and we also call it the
two-headed giant.
We also call it the second best commander product out there for us. So, but a few Battle Bond cards I want to go over. Generous Patron, 2 and a green. When Generous Patriot enters the battlefield, you support 2 and put 2 1/1 counters on any creatures. And whenever you put 1 or more counters on a creature you don't control, you get to draw a card. So you give and you get, and you do it all in one swoop. And it's not too overbearing. You're giving your opponent or friend for that moment buffing up their creatures, but you get to draw a card in return.
See, I'm a mean person. I give my opponents -1 counters, so I don't make any friends. But if you're not a crazy Phyrexian psychopath like myself and you're just infecting other creatures, yes, giving +1 counters, you're going to draw cards, but also make a lot more friends. And there's a lot of situations. There's enough flexibility now within +1 counter synergies that even with something like a Volrath, you can throw +1 counters on other creatures, still benefit yourself, but make people look at you in a more favorable way. They don't have to be -1 counters.
Exactly. And, I mean, trick them a little bit. Give them a +1 counter in one turn and put a -1 counter back on that same creature.
Just tease them. Make them feel strong and then just take it away.
Can they really feel mad, though? Can they really feel mad? All right. Next, I want to talk about Krav the Unredeemed. 4 and a black. And it wasn't until recent. I played this commander a lot. This is one of my personal best commander decks using Krav and Regna together. But Krav actually says that if you pay a black and sacrifice X creatures, target player gets to draw cards and gain X life. And you can put those 1/1 counters on Krav. But I never noticed that it was target player gets to draw those cards and gain that life.
I didn't either. I've played against that deck I don't know how many times with you. I never noticed that. You could have been helping me this entire time, Seth, and you just left me there with no card draw or life gain.
This entire time. I'm sorry.
I'm devastated. That's crazy. I did not know that. That is really powerful.
Yeah, I'll definitely consider this in the future now going forward to see if this will up the strategy of the power of my Krav and Regnant deck. Just out of nowhere, just decide to give, throw some life and throw some cards at another player that I need to, to be a friend. And I just can't wait to see the look on their face when they realize that Krav can do this as well.
And it's a great thing to do too. If you know you're like dead on board and you don't have enough mana, nothing in your deck can save you. This is a great petty play to go out and just buff up another player, give them a bunch of life, give them a bunch of cards, and be like, look, you're going to kill me. Now I created a whole new problem for you. So yeah, I think the petty plays you get out of this are awesome.
I just drew that other player a bunch of cards and gave them some more life. Now
exactly. Because everyone loves a kingmaker, right? Isn't that everyone's favorite type of player?
Exactly. Which is why Kenrith should be, last card I want us to talk about is Bramble Sovereign. 2 green and a green. Another card that I did not know that targets any player. But whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you can pay 1 and a green. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token copy of that creature. For this entire time, I thought it was just creatures that enter on your side of the field.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, wow. Especially with ETBs. Like if someone, there's so many times in a game where a player's going off, someone's got a Wreck Sage, and they're like, well, I can take care of 1, pick 1. Yeah, not with Bramble Sovereign. You can all of a sudden be like, you know what? Take another. Or even in the context of this Law of Power, if you're looking to more be like, plant the seeds to get somebody to help you out later. You could just out of nowhere, if someone plays a Wood Elf, just give them another one and just be like, hey, I'm going to help you out now. I might need something back later. Yeah, the flexibility this is, with a lot of these cards, so much flexibility to where it can really help you, but it can also be used politically. It really just depends on the type of game.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, remember, you got to give before you can take.
Yes. I will actually point that out too with Group Hug in general. Just kind of a closing thought on Group Hug. I like Group Hug used much more as discussed in this video in the sense of trying to deceitfully like help 1 or 2 players out and plant seeds like that as opposed to just help everyone go crazy. Because sometimes with Group Hug, the annoying thing is you ramp everyone, draw everyone cards, and the game just gets too convoluted to keep track of. Whereas with stuff like this, you're like pinpointing who to Group Hug and pinpointing when to do it to really create more streamlined games and not just chaos.
Exactly. So you have to be not just selective with your honesty, but selective with your friendships as well. So
exactly.
I think that's a good place for us to close it out today.
For sure.
I feel like this could have gone more off the rails, but I think we kept it tame.
Yeah, I think this was, we did as honestly as we could for a law. When I first read it, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, we are literally creating psychopaths. This seems awful. But I think once we kind of broke it down a little bit within, especially Group Hug, there are some ways you can use this without just being mean to your friends. There's for sure nicer ways to use it.
Exactly. So it's not always just about being, being, like you said, being mean or just being the nastiest person at the table. It's just use selective honesty that will It could advantage your opponent in one turn, but at the end of the day, you want to get the most advantage by the end of the game. So it also relates to about not revealing too much information, things that we talked about in earlier principles, earlier laws. So all of these things kind of correlate back to each other. Some of these laws kind of expand on certain thoughts within each of these laws, other laws. And so we just want to make sure we bring those things out. So,
for sure.
But I think we're going to close it out. We want to thank everyone for staying with us. I want to give a shout out to all of our patrons. Definitely want to give a shout out to TCG Player. If you see any cards from the TCG Players website, use our affiliate link in the description below. It helps out the channel. It helps out your local stores. They get to you very safe and secure, and also very quickly. And if you see any cards from this video that you want, we recommend using TCG Player and also using our affiliate link. It helps out a lot. And so I think we're just going to go ahead and sign off. We want to say thank you. Hope you please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. We have some interesting things coming throughout the rest of this year. I mean, let's just be real. This entire year has been interesting.
that's the nicest way to describe it. Yes, very, very interesting.
All right, so signing off, and good night.
Peace.